Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel Unfog with Dr. Atahar Parveen. Friends, this is the third class of the previous year question paper series of HSTR 2015 PM method question paper, and we are discussing physics part from this question paper. So this question paper will have 100 questions. In that 100 questions, 40 will be from physics, 40 will be from maths, and the rest 20 will be from PM methodology. So there will be no negative marking for HSTR, but you will get negative marking in CRIS. Okay, so that you have to keep in mind. And because there is no negative marking in HSTR as of the previous question paper, hopefully this time also there will not be any negative marking in HSTR. Still, let us hope for the best, because we will know all the other things only after the notification. Now moving on to our question, next question, that should be question number 21. Before starting to discuss, I want to remind you all to subscribe this channel, because we will be posting regular classes which are free classes related to all maths and science and pedagogy, everything related to HSTR, CRIS, GPSTR and TET. And if you have not joined our Telegram channel, you will get the link in the description below this video. You can join our Telegram channel and Telegram group. And if you are interested to join our courses, you can mail us at atahartethtstrcourses@gmail.com, or you can text in WhatsApp. The number is 911-055-8369. And I want to stress on this point that if you are already a paid class aspirant, then please don't ignore these free classes which we are posting these days, because these free classes will help you at the time of revision. Once notification comes, we will start revision classes for all the batches, right from batch 1 till batch 12 and so on. So for all the batches, revision classes will be conducted, and at that time things should not become new for you. So that's why we are putting stress on this point, that please watch these free classes and take these free classes seriously. Not only free classes, we want to remind you that you have schedules of your batches, right? So you have to follow the schedules and watch the paid classes also, because once the notification comes, you will not have time to do that. Because we are actually expecting HSTR notification maybe in a month or so, that's why we are telling you that this is the right time for you to start prepare. Okay, so please regularly follow both our paid classes and our free classes, and currently we are trying to post free classes as much as regularly as possible. But once notification is released, then our focus will shift towards conducting your revision classes for paid batches. So please take this point seriously and stay consistent with your preparation and get ready for your revision phase. So with this, let us now start discussing the questions from the physics part in HSTR PM method question paper. See this question. The radius of the circle is measured with the maximum error of 2%. Then maximum error in its area is. Now this question is from units and measurement, right? So the error is to be found here in this question. So we know that the area of the circle is going to be equal to pi r square, right? Now what is given in the question is that the radius of the circle is measured with the maximum error of 2%, right? So I have to multiply this change in the radius with 100, then I am getting 2%. That is the question here, right? Now area of the circle is pi r square, right? So in place of area, there will be change in area because of the error in the radius, right? So what is the change in area? That is delta A by A, right? Now this is going to be equal to, pi is a constant, so I can ignore, right? So I have r square in the right hand side, right? For this r square, I have to take power in the left hand side here, and then I will write change in the radius, right? So what is the change in the area now? What is the maximum error that is happening in the area now because of the error in the radius? Here it is 2%, right? So into 2%. So this is going to be equal to 4%. So option 2 will be correct here. Okay. So in case I had r cube in the formula, then what I would do? I would multiply 3 and then write delta r by r. That is how is the procedure to find out the error. Next, question number 22. This is from a magnetism chapter. So the question is, in the given figure, AB is the small current element carrying the current I. Then the magnitude of magnetic field at P at a distance of R from the current element is. This is basically our Biot-Savart's law. If you are a paid class aspirant, then you will be knowing very much clearly about all this, because we discuss everything in detail related to Biot-Savart law. So here we have one formula given by this law. The formula is dB is equal to mu naught by 4 pi I dl sin theta upon r square. What is this I here? I is the current. dl is the small current element which they have given here, no, AB. That is our dl here. What is r? It is the distance from the current element dl to a point P. Okay, this is our r. What about theta? Theta is the angle between this dl and this r. So according to Biot-Savart's law, dB, the magnitude of the magnetic field, will be equal to mu naught by 4 pi I dl sin theta by r square. So option 1 will be the correct answer. For this type of questions, no, you shouldn't see the options at all. First you write down the formula which you know. Then you compare the options with your formula. If you see the options in the starting only, no, then you will get confused and you will end up taking the wrong answer. So this is the best procedure to give the correct answer to the questions with the formula. Okay. Next, question number 23. This is from units and dimensions. The dimensional formula for the physical quantity force is. See, how do we find the dimensional formula? We have discussed everything in detail in the paid classes about all this. So this should be very, very easy for you. So I will first tell you how to find out the dimensional formula here. Here they are talking about force, right? What is the simple classical formula for force? It is mass into acceleration, right? Further, how can you split it? For acceleration, it is velocity by displacement, right? Further, how you can split it? Mass into velocity into 1 upon time, right? What is the formula for velocity again? It is a displacement by time, right? So it is again 1 by 2. So basically, what is my force now? It is mx upon t square. If I have to write it in the dimensional formula way, then for mass it is m, for distance it is L, and for time it is t to the minus 2, right? How do we actually portray it? We write it in a square bracket with capital letters, right? M to the 1, L to the 1, t to the minus 2. So 1 we don't need to mention, we directly write like this, m L t to the minus 2 is for force, right? So option 3 will be the correct answer here. So if you are a paid class aspirant, you will know everything about this. So I am giving you assignment. I want you to write the dimensional formula for acceleration and write dimensional formula for velocity. Also write a dimensional formula for pressure. Okay. You can write in the comment section, or you can also share your answer in your batch telegram group. Okay. Next, question number 24. The value of the resistance of the carbon resistor having the color codes red, yellow, gold is. So this is also a particular procedure, and it is a very common question asked in TET also you can expect, in GPST or you can expect, in CRISE also you can expect, and in HSTR also you can expect. Okay, one question compulsorily is there from this part in all the exams. Actually, to remember these colors in order, there are many mnemonics, like one of the common one is B.B. Roy of Great Britain has a very good wife. So the starting letters of this words will give you the order of these colors, and for that, no, the first digit is for that particular color. These are the numbers, okay, and for second digit also these are the numbers starting from 0 till 9. Then third one is a multiplier and fourth one is the tolerance. So I will tell you with the given question only. What is there? Red, yellow and gold, right? So what is red here? 2, right? If you see, red is 2. The number is 2 for first and second digit. So you write 2 and 2. What about yellow? It is for the third digit. So in the third digit for yellow, what is there? It is a multiplier, right? So it is into 10 to the 4. And gold is for a fourth part, which we call as a tolerance. And for gold, it is plus or minus 5% tolerance is there. Now combine everything and write the color code. It is 22 into 10 to the 4 plus or minus 5%. But if you don't have this in the option, see, this is there in the option. What is the option here? Option 3 will be the correct answer. But if this is not there in the option, something else can also be there in the option, like this one, right? 22 into 10 to the 4 can be written as 10 into 10 to the 3, right? So you can write it as a 220, 10 to the 3 is kilo, right? 220 kilo ohms plus or minus 5%. Okay, only this also can be there in the option. They may ignore this part or they may add it also. So in that case also you should be able to find out the correct option and give the correct answer, because 10 to the 4 ohms is nothing but 10 kilo ohms. This also you have to remember. Okay. Next, question number 25. The device which is used to compare the EMF of two cells is. Now this is a very easy answer actually. The device which is used to compare EMF of two cells is a potentiometer. So option 2 will be the correct answer. And what is the speciality of this potentiometer? It is used to compare the EMF of two cells without drawing current from them. It will not disturb the current. Without disturbing the current, it will just measure it or it will compare it, you can say. Okay, so rest 3 options. What is a meter bridge doing? Meter bridge is used to measure the resistance. What about sonometer? It has something to do with the sound and vibrations, right? So it is used to study sound and vibrations. What about Wheatstone bridge? It is actually used to measure the unknown resistance. You should have done all these experiments also in your PUC second year physics. And even in your BSc also you must have done these experiments. So I hope that this will be easily understandable to you all, because once we do practical, no, we don't forget many things from the practicals. Okay. Next, question number 26. All these are the questions from current electricity chapter only. So in the question they have given, in the given network, the quantity of current flowing through the galvanometer is. So basically here they are giving a very famous bridge network. We call it as a Wheatstone bridge. Right? So what is the condition of this Wheatstone bridge? For that bridge to be balanced means, if there are these 4 resistances, say P, Q, R and S. So the balanced bridge will have this condition. P by Q is equal to R by S. Now if this condition is satisfied, it implies that the current through the galvanometer Ig will be equal to 0. So this is the Wheatstone bridge condition. The very condition of the bridge only is that this P by Q, if it is equal to R by S, then the current flowing through the galvanometer will be 0. In that case, the bridge is in the balanced condition. Now just you have to substitute the values of the resistors here. P is 8, Q is 2 and R is 28 and S is 7. Yes, this is equal to same number. 4 is equal to 4. So this condition is applied here. So that's why Ig, the current flowing through the galvanometer is 0 ampere. Option 1 will be the correct answer here. Okay. Next, question number 27. The polarity of induced EMF is such that it opposes the cause which produces it. So this statement is popularly called as. So they have given 4 options. You should be knowing all the 4 options answers actually, because this time they are asking for one option, next time they will ask for any other. Like for example, this one, no, the polarity of induced EMF is such that it opposes the cause which produces it. Actually, it is telling the direction of the induced current. So this is actually Lenz's law, which tells the direction of the induced EMF. Next time they may ask about Faraday's law. What is Faraday's law? It is talking about the magnitude of the induced current. Okay. What did Lenz's law tell? It told about the direction. So polarity they are telling, right? So that is direction. What about Curie's law? It is dealing with the magnetism, right? The paramagnetic substance magnetism it talks about, right? So it is related to magnetism, that to paramagnetic substance. What is Stephen's law? This is also a very important question. So Stephen's law actually talks about the black body radiation. We also call it as a Stephen-Boltzmann law. It talks about thermal radiation from the black bodies. So this is how you have to make the list of the laws also in the physics, formulae also. So this way you will be keeping yourself in touch with some basics in physics, which will make it very easy for you in the CET. Okay. Next, question number 28. A body is moving in circular path of diameter 14 cm. After time t, it completes one rotation and comes to the original position. The displacement and distance travelled by this body respectively are. You should know one thing, that distance is different from displacement. Many aspirants get confused thinking that both are same. They are not the same at all. Distance is different from displacement. What is distance? Distance is the total path covered by the object. So how much total path is covered by the object? That is your distance. But what is displacement? Displacement is actually the shortest distance between the starting point and the end point. Remember this. Okay. Now here they are talking about the circular motion, and they are telling that the body is moving in circular path and it is completing one rotation and coming back to its original position. So if the body is like this, it is moving one circular path and it is coming back to its original position. Then what about the displacement? Displacement means the body, it should have changed its position from this place to this place. So this is the displacement, right? Some number will be there here, some x will be there here. But if the body is coming back to its original position, in that case displacement will be 0. Distance will be there. Whatever the path it has travelled, no, that is the distance. But displacement is 0 here, right? So with this, 2 options you can remove, because displacement some number is there here. So you can remove. Remaining are option 2 and option 4, where displacement is 0. Now you have to calculate the distance. So they are talking about the circle here, right? So what will be the distance then? It will be the circumference of the circle, 2 pi r, right? So this circumference is nothing but the distance here. So this is equal to 2 pi r, or I can write as pi into d, right? Because diameter is nothing but 2 times the radius, right? So why do I take the diameter, divide it with the 2 again and write in the place of radius? Instead I will do 2r and I will write diameter as it is from the question. This way you can save your time in the exam, right? Pi into 14. What about pi? It is 22 by 7 into 14. 7 ones are 7 twos are. This is going to be equal to 44 centimeter. So 0 and 44 centimeter. Option 4 will be the correct answer here. Okay. See, explaining, discussing takes little time. But if you are good with all these calculations and if your concepts are strong, you will solve this problem within I think 30 seconds to 1 minute you will solve it, and you will go for the next question. Okay. So question number 29. Identify the vector quantities. In the previous question, we were discussing about distance and displacement, right? So distance is only about the total path covered by the body. So that is your scalar. Displacement is also talking about the direction. So it is your vector. So what is the difference between scalar and vector? So the physical quantities which have only magnitude, they are known as scalars, and those physical quantities which also talk about the direction along with magnitude, we call it as vector. So best example here for scalar is distance. We only wanted to know about the total path, and for vector we want direction, that is displacement. If this is the body, if it is going like this, and if this is your origin, so it is plus x, and if it is going like this, then this is minus x. We want to know about the negative sign here. In the previous class we discussed about displacement in one question, if you remember. There we were telling that the acceleration is equal to minus omega square x. The negative thing was there here, right? So that is because displacement is vector. We have many more examples related to scalars and vectors. Before that, let us see the question here. Electric potential, radioactive decay, pressure and impulse and torque they are telling. See, electric potential, it is a scalar. It has nothing to do with the direction. Radioactivity also scalar. Pressure is also scalar. Impulse and torque, they are vector. So option 2, D and E are the correct answer here. We can expect this type of question this time also. So I am giving you more examples related to scalar and vector quantities. You have to go through this, and you can ask if you have any doubt in the comment section, or if you are a paid class aspirant, then you can ask in your Telegram group of your batch. Next, question number 30. A person is sitting in a traveling train and facing the direction of motion. He tosses up a coin and the coin falls behind him. It can be concluded that the train is moving forward and gaining speed, moving forward and losing speed, moving forward with uniform speed, moving backward with uniform speed. Now this is a question where a lot of aspirants, especially paid classes aspirants, have discussion with us because this is a little bit tricky question. See, actually what the question is that a person is sitting in the train and the train is moving. Okay. That person is playing with the coin. The person is tossing the coin. And one situation is there where the coin is falling behind him. So they are asking here that what do you conclude with this? So you have to understand here that there are three cases. First case is that train is moving with uniform speed. This is ideally not possible, but if this is happening means, if the train is moving with uniform speed means, it is just like you are on the earth. Earth is also moving, right? You cannot feel that earth is moving, right? So if the train is moving in a uniform speed, then you will not feel that the train is moving, and nor will the coin feel. So that's why if you toss the coin, it will come and fall in your hand only. So the train movement is not disturbing that coin in this first case. In second case, if the train is moving forward and if its speed is increasing, then what will happen? You are tossing the coin up. The train is moving fast, but the coin does not get so much speed at a time, right? So the coin will fall in its place only where it has to fall, like the one which happened here in the first case. But at that time, you will have gone forward because of the increase in the speed. So that's why coin will fall behind you. And opposite will happen when the train is losing its speed while moving forward, right? So the coin will fall in front of you. So in this question, second case is valid. So option 1, moving forward and gaining speed. In that situation only, coin will fall behind you. Okay, so friends who all were discussing about this since I think many, I can say also a few years actually. So this is the question of discussion always. So let me make it clear here. If the coin is falling in your hand, it means that train is moving with uniform velocity. If it is falling behind you, it means that the train is accelerating forward. And if it is falling in front of you, it means that the train is slowing down or decelerating. Okay. Clear, right? So I really hope that this class helped you with good revision, because if you are a paid class aspirant, then you will be knowing about all these questions, but I have made sure to explain these questions in a better way when compared to our earlier classes, so that things become easy now, because many of you know the concepts now. You all are preparing since long time now, so that's why I thought of giving a little bit more details and little bit more understanding. So paid class aspirants, if you have any doubts, please feel free to write in your batches group. And aspirants who have not taken our paid classes can also clear doubts in the Telegram group, which is a common group for everyone. You will have the link in the description below this video. Of course, you can also write in the comment section below. And if you have not subscribed, subscribe right now, and also share this video among your friends and other aspirants for more such classes. Thank you. All the best. Bye.